Hi, this is Andy Turner, the Education Technologist at Illinois College. Today I want to show how to add data to a database from a database, and then how to use that information as a data source that is available on the web in a secure and scalable fashion. What I'm doing today is I'm just remoting over to a machine that I've got a database installed on. So from the top, what I'm going to show you today, number one, basically is how to get data out of a database. Now, Toad is an open source tool that will let you run SQL queries on a database. So in this case, I need to know what parameters that I need from a course. In our work, we're doing assessment. And here in Moodle, we have basically a PHP interface to a MySQL database. In those days, they called that stack a LAMP, a Linux box, also Apache as the web server, MySQL as the database, and PHP as the graphical user interface. So you can see here that I'm signing in to Moodle with some credentials specific locally to Moodle. You could also use a single sign-on solution that we're working on. Now I want to go ahead and get signed in, and you should have the appropriate login to do this. As you can see, I do not know how to type, but we'll give that another shot. I do not have the numlock on, so that will do that. Now, so that I'm in the course, I do need to know which courses that I need to find data about. So I happen to know that the first course that I want to look at, and I'll provide a list of the whole list of courses. There's about 60, is for 13-14 fall, we've got SO206. So I'll click on that course. For your login, you should be able to see these as well. Here's a course that we're assessing on the civic engagement and speaking extensive experiences outcomes. In Moodle, these outcomes basically are rubrics that have been approved by the Blueprint Gen Ed program specific to Illinois College. And this ambitious project is going to look at every course in that list of first-year seminar or civic engaged approved courses, as well as writing extensive experiences. But this is one of the courses that belong to these rubrics, and we see that this course has the course SO206. Now, Moodle has its own ID number for each course, and this is 1114. Now I want to know what the grades and the scores are for this course. Of course, I can access it through the interface. I can download a spreadsheet. I can parse the spreadsheet, and I can save about, a new spreadsheet. Every time I do this, every week, I would need to download a new spreadsheet for the fresh data, and then I would need to have a big folder with all the spreadsheets for all the weeks, for all the courses, and then maybe different ones for aggregating student scores. Well, we want to access this data programmatically. So I'm going to go directly to the database that this PHP interface is showing me. So I'm going to skip the visual interface so that I can access this data programmatically. Now, I've got SQL queries here that show which courses have rubrics associated, because we're only obviously interested in the courses that have been associated with rubrics, not all courses. So I can provide these scripts. Basically, we said, I believe it was 1114 is one of the courses that have an outcome. So I'm running select the ID, the course ID, and the outcome ID from the Moodle database. Notice it's the Moodle backup database. And I want the course outcome IDs from, in this database, this table. It's database.tablename. Select those from that table in that database. I'm going to go ahead and hit run, and then I should see You can't have that just part selected. You have to run the whole thing. The ID of the course ID, I thought we said was 1114. So if we scroll down here, we see that 1114 is in fact in the list. So 1114 has these outcome IDs. Probably the 42, 43, 44 are going to be the Speaking Extensive Experience rubrics, and we'll find out exactly what those are. So I have a different query that I can run that shows for this specific course what the detail is, and that was 1114. I'm going to run that. Social stratification looks good. Now I want to also drill into that a little bit more, because all I have is that top level detail about the course. I need a little bit more information. 1114 is the course ID that I'm interested in. When I run that, I see that these rubrics have been associated, and assignments that have been associated as well. So it looks like we have journal number 3. Let's take a look at that. That's ID number 5923. 1114 and 5923 are the two IDs that I want, the course and the assignment respectively. 1114, and I think it's 5293. That must have been wrong. Let me look at that again. I'm going to open for 1114. I'm interested in 5923. Oh no, I need the rubric scores. So I'm going to look at the scores that were associated with C1. So that's 7179. 1114, 7179. Let's look at that. In this query, 1114, 7179. Hit run the script, and here we go. So 7179 is the assignment that was used to score these assessments. Now, final grade is the, that's what we want. Final grade is the column that we're after. Some got 3s, some got 1s, 2s. 1 through 4 is the scale. So that's what we want. I want to take this data and I want to put it in a different database. And I'll show you why. I'm going to right click this data. I'm going to say quick export Excel instance. So that just means give me this data, I'm going to put it in an Excel instance. Now Excel should be opening automatically, but I do have to click on it and open it. So here we are. I've got the data that I'm interested in for SO206. So I'm going to save this spreadsheet out. Save as. I'm going to go out to the L drive assessment, and I'm going to save this as a tab delimited file, and that's text tab delimited. Now this is for SO206. SO206 1314 FA. That's the fall of the year 2013. Social stratification SO206, and I'm hitting save. So now I've got that tab delimited text file. I'll click yes here, and then close, and then click don't save there. So that's great. I've got the data that I want out of the database. I'm not going to save changes to those queries, and I will say yes from there. That's fine. Get rid of this. Now, Toad was what I used to get access to the Moodle database. Just as an overview, I needed the course ID number in Moodle. I have a list that I will give of all of the courses that we need to assess to get assessment data from. There's about 60. This was one of them. We've done 2 so far. MG425 and SO206. This is the second one. So we've got the data for those 2. I've already added MG425's data to a SQL Server Express instance. This time I'm going to add SO206's data to the SQL Express instance. So from the top in Windows, you can go out and install SQL Server Express on your own, and then you'll have to install SQL Server Management Studio Express as well. And what that will give you is the ability to update a database so that you can write code to update a database programmatically, so that you don't have to do this by hand like I'm doing now. This is step one, doing it by hand, so that you can learn how to programmatically go about doing it. So this is a problem-based learning exercise. I have a gradebook template database. You can of course go out to any production database. I'm connecting to this SQL Express instance. And again, if you need to know how to get to SQL Server Management Studio, just Google it, Server Management Studio, get the latest version, and there you go. Click Install. SQL Server Express, same story. SQL Server Express. These are free tools. And SQL Server Express is the same syntax as SQL Server, so when you use the big boy SQL Server database, then you'll already know the syntax for the SQL language. Now we're not going to use the SQL language just yet. We're going to use a very basic version of it, and that's where you download SQL Server Express. I've already done that. I've already installed it and gotten it set up. You have to use your Windows account credential to sign in, otherwise you can't get it. That's to protect the database. Remember, we said we wanted it to be available, scalable, secure. That's the security part. This MOL internship is a database that I want to update. I've already got one table in here. Remember, I said I've already done MG425. I can right-click that table and say, select the top 1,000 rows. It executes the query, and now I have the data from Moodle inside this Windows database, and the final grade is there, 8s and 10s. Those were real grades. So I want to add the SO206 classroom class scores. So I'm going to right-click the database itself. MOL Internship is the name of the database, and I'm going to say Tasks, Import Data. Now, the data that I exported from Toad is the data that I'm going to import to SQL Express. So here I choose Flat File Source. I'm going to browse out to that tab delimited text file that I already created on my own L drive here, an assessment, and SO206. That's the tab delimited text file that I'm going to import to SQL Express, and the column names are in the first data row. I have to go down here to Advanced, because I happen to know that item name is bigger than 50 characters on some of these, so I have to change that to 200. That was an error we got in our last meeting. Next, I have to update feedback, because I typed a lot of feedback in there, at least for my course, and I'm sure others did as well, so I have to make that at least 200 characters, I think. I go ahead and hit Next. I use Windows Authentication because, as I said, I added my own account to be able to access and modify this database. Next, I've let the file name automatically create the table name. So this is remember we said database name dot table name. So it's the database object. It's currently this, which is the MOL Internship Database dot table name. And I'm going to go ahead and hit Next. And I'm going to go ahead and run this. Now we'll see if this fails. It did not fail. That's good. The reason it didn't fail is because we had to change that 50 character limit to a 200 character limit. Otherwise that would have failed. So now I'm going to refresh this database. Notice I can't do it that way. I have to go up here and hit refresh for this database. And now I have it. I can right click this and say select the top 1000 rows, and here I have a baked in SQL query that I can just get all of the tables from the database, from database name.table name. What if I want to find all of the rows where the final grade is a 3? Here's the final grade column, here's the 4s. I'll just scroll down until I find one, and then I'll look at those separately. Well, are these in order? You know, there's some 1s, some 3s, so how do I select that? Well, that's what SQL does. That is structured query language. SQL allows you to analyze data. So I'm going to go up here and hit new query, and I say select anything. Here's the asterisk. Select anything from DBO dot, and I want the database MOL internship. I want that database dot this table name I do get some text completion here. Let me put this on pause real quick. I'm just shooting a video. Let me put this on pause. I can figure out where. Anyway.
Yeah, she's having trouble sending calendar requests because she still uses Outlook because she said she was comfortable with that and she did switch over and now she can't send calendar requests.
If you want, you can transfer her over. I can help her.
Well, I was just going to put it into it, but I put it in.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Alright, so what we're doing is we're going back to the database. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And I'm going to say select star from this guy. So I want star from dbo.so 206 1314 FA, and I'll see if I can run that. Yeah. So that's the data that I want. And I can see that I've got all of the final grades in here. Now, select from gave me all that data. I want to kind of narrow in on some more of that data, so I'm going to say select from that where final grade equals 4. And now I have a subset of that data where all of the final grades, as you can see, are a 4. You can also search by a user ID. If I knew a user ID, I would just say where the user ID equal 6051, where user ID equal 6051. And there we are. So you can take, you can join data from different tables, but we'll get into that next time. And again, I can export this data, right-click, Save Results As. I can save it as a CSV, so tab delimited text, and then put that into another database. Well, what was the point of going through all that where we took it out of one database and we put it in another? The answer is you normally would not do that manually. You would do that programmatically. So if you can do it in real life like we've done here, you can do it programmatically, and that is more of an advanced topic that's beyond the scope of this internship. But I want you to be familiar with how to import and export data manually like this, because it does happen. We have disparate types of databases. In our case, we have MySQL and SQL, two different types of databases. But what we want to do is write custom code, so we needed this CSV to be able to be accessed. And that way we'll put it into JSON format like it shows in the HTML5 basics video, and then you write an HTML page that accesses that JSON. Could you write an HTML page that accesses this database directly? Absolutely. That's pretty much the way that web applications are made. So there are several languages to get into to access a database. I like ASP.NET MVC. Now there's also, you can do it manually with pretty much with Java. Set up again, we set a LAMP server, Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. You can write PHP server-side code, get the data out of MySQL and present it in HTML, which is just like what Moodle does. There are other frameworks, of course, but basically we're going to be doing it with Java and JavaScript so that you can code it from scratch. Later on, any other library or language that you go to uses the same sort of architecture and pattern. So we're learning this basically by, digging the dirt, shoveling it up, making the bricks manually, and building something with freely available tools that don't cost anything. Hopefully this helps, and if you have any questions, definitely post it up to the discussion board. Add a new discussion if you want to the Canvas course. Thanks a lot.